Heads up, everybody. I got a little caught up speaking British on today's show. I used a little coarse language when referring to a royal sex pest. All right, you've been warned. Slate's Imogen West Nights has got a problem, which is what exactly to call Prince Andrew these days, since apparently he's no longer a prince.
Well, apparently I'm supposed to be calling him Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, which is still kind of a mouthful.
You're not just calling him like a twat? Sorry.
Well, I mean, yes, there are things I might be calling him in my private life that are less suitable for recording.
I just went there.
I mean, yeah, he's one of the one of the least popular people in the country, I would say, at the moment.
Andrew got downgraded last week after allegations surfaced again that he'd actively supported sex criminal Jeffrey Epstein and even participated in those crimes himself. Imogen says in the UK, there has not been a lot of love lost on Andrew.
All he did was spend loads of money and create diplomatic issues and, accept bugged computers from Russian spies. He was just an idiot, just like a proper idiot.
He wasn't exactly generous either.
The whole sine qua non of Andrew is like being a prince. He has been a very sort of entitled role holder and really loved being above other people by virtue of this title.
Can you give me an example of that?
There are lots of little stories in there about him, insisting that people call him by His Royal Highness. And he would do things like fire people for wearing the wrong kind of tie. And he liked power and the fact that he had power that couldn't be taken away.
Of course, now that power has been taken away. Sort of. One of the interesting things about Andrew losing his title is that he's still in the line of succession. Pretty far down there, but still.
He's still 8th in line to the throne. So technically, if 7 of them died, he would by rights become the King of England. But he's still in the same position that he was. He's just not a prince.
In some ways, I feel like what's happened here with Prince Andrew is like, from his perspective, the nicest possible option. Like in olden times, wouldn't King Charles have just like poisoned his mead or something?
Sure, yeah, he's getting away without being literally thrown out of a window or having his head chopped off. But of course, we're never going to see Prince Andrew behind bars.
Today on the show, how to get kicked out of the royal family. It takes a lot. Or more specifically, it takes Andrew. I'm Mary Harris. You're listening to What Next? Stick around.
The Trump administration is gutting environmental protections on a scale never seen before, opening pristine wildlands to drilling, rolling back pollution standards, blocking clean energy projects, weakening species protections. But there's a movement that's fighting back, and it needs your support now. The Natural Resources Defense Council combines the power of 3 million supporters with 700 lawyers, scientists, and advocates. This community gives NRDC the collective power to hold corporations accountable and win in court. That's how they won nearly 90% of cases against the first Trump administration, protecting endangered species, blocking harmful pipelines, and safeguarding clean air and water. Every victory happened because people refused to stand by and do nothing. Join this powerful movement preserving the natural world for future generations. Donate at nrdc.org/next and your gift will be matched 5 times.
This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks makes it easy to find the perfect gifts and holiday looks that suit your personal style. The holidays can be a whole lot of things. Fun, relaxing, but also a little stressful because you've got a long list of friends and family and you gotta find a gift for everyone. If you go over to Saks.com, I guarantee it's going to jumpstart all of your ideas for what you should be getting your friends and family. It is the only website on the internet where you're going to find super high-end luxury Prada sneakers next to a crystal floral A-line gown from MacDougall. And then that's right next to a Cynthia Rowley ombre long-sleeved wetsuit. These are things I did not know existed until I went to sex.com. And now I'm like, maybe I should be getting a bathing suit for my mom this Christmas. Maybe. Going into this holiday season, I feel confident Saks is there to help me find inspiration, curate a holiday wish list, pick out gifts for my loved ones, and have a look ready whatever might come my way. Whether it's an office holiday party, a cozy night in, or a vacation getaway, Saks has got everything you could want. If you're looking for shopping to be personalized and easy this holiday season, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to shop for everyone on your list.
I want to go back in time because my listeners in the United States, they might not know the full story of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and who he was prior to this downfall. He's Queen Elizabeth's second son, third child. What role did he have in the royal family, like growing up as a child and a teenager?
Yeah, this is a perpetual issue for royals insofar as they could be said to have issues, which is that unless you are the firstborn and the heir to the throne, then it's a little unclear what you should be doing with yourself or what purpose that you serve. Parry's book.
You're the spare.
You're the spare. But Andrew was the spare twice over. Like, he's the youngest son. He was never likely to get anywhere near the throne. And I think he knew that from a very young age, that he didn't really have a purpose, but he didn't need to find one either. He could just kind of kick about being rich and famous.
Royal watchers have said he was Queen Elizabeth's favorite.
Well, this is what people say, yeah. But then, you can't really put logic to mothers' loves, I think. Sometimes you hear about people's favorite kids and you're like, really? That one? Okay. But he did, what did he do? I mean, he did terribly in school. He was very arrogant and not very widely liked, it sounds like. And then he went into the military. He did okay in the military for a while, and then
he got this nickname Randy Andy in the 80s, yeah? Because he was caught in a girls' boarding house.
Yeah, this was the kind of thing he got up to. He was, as I say, he was good looking in his day, and he used his royal status to date and sleep widely with various women. I mean, there was a phase when he was always dating like a supermodel. So yes, he was a sort of like playboy. He kind of had a job, but not really. And then later in his life, he was given things to do like diplomatic positions that he was terrible at and that everybody else in the service was kind of laughing at him for. And then that didn't really pan out. He's just, I don't know. I mean, he just seems like an extremely useless person.
I just want the listeners to know I did not say that. My guest said that.
I did. I stand by it.
I want to pause for a second and focus on Andrew's marriage to Sarah Ferguson, because I think I'm dating myself. I'm of a certain age, but I remember that really clearly. Fergie, as she was called, this redhead, was known for being bubbly, kind of a party girl. And she took so much heat in the 80s and 90s for being like bad girl in the royal family, which I think is so interesting at this moment, right? When Andrew is accused of really terrible, terrible things. Say what you want about Fergie. She was with her financial advisor getting her toes sucked in St. Tropez, and that's why she's no longer part of the royal family, really. But she was not sex criming that we know of.
No, I mean, I think the thing about Fergie is that in many ways she was the perfect partner for Andrew, even though they divorced, but they've sort of remained close over the years afterwards. So, but she also was a kind of like party loving, not, forgive me, particularly bright, but interested in like being a sort of socialite, social person. And I think she was a big character, but then so was Andrew.
Right. So when did Prince Andrew become entangled with Jeffrey Epstein? Because that's really what's at issue here and why he's lost his title. I mean, all I know is that in 99, just a while ago, he was inviting Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein to Balmoral.
Yeah. So he's always sort of denied that his friendship with Epstein was anything other than a kind of passing, oh yes, I knew him and he knew me, but he wasn't like a special friend or anything.
Even though there is a photograph of Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein at like the Queen's cabin.
Yeah.
Balmoral. Like they were more special friends than I was.
Yes, certainly. Like, let me tell you, that's not an invitation that most people are getting. So, yes, the connection goes back a long way. And one of the sort of astonishing things about this whole Andrew debacle is the way he has utterly refused to own up to kind of any of it and just lied, barefaced lied about times when he was and wasn't in touch with Epstein and things that can be proven, things for which there are paper trails. And he thinks for some reason that he's just going to get away with it, that his word is law.
Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein maintained a friendship through the 2000s. They were close enough that in 2010, when Epstein was finished serving a short prison sentence for his own sex crimes, Prince Andrew paid him a visit. They were photographed strolling in Central Park. Andrew swore he was there simply to end the relationship. But that explanation wasn't enough for the British public. In 2011, Andrew was removed from his role as trade envoy. Then came the allegations that Andrew himself was far more than just a bystander to Epstein's crimes. So in 2015, Prince Andrew is accused by Virginia Giuffre of raping her when she was 17 years old. This is a massive bombshell. It's one accusation, part of this larger federal case against Jeffrey Epstein. A picture surfaces showing Prince Andrew with his arm around Giuffre. It creates pressure for Andrew to respond, which eventually he does in 2019, so years later, with this long sit-down interview on Newsnight on the BBC. Can you just tell me about this interview? Like, was this an event where everyone in the UK just sort of popped some popcorn and was like, gotta tune in for this?
Yeah, 100%. We all watched it. They trailed it for a while, and Newsnight is a very serious organization, and Emily Maitlis is one of our kind of like star serious journalists. And so it was very obvious that it wasn't going to be a kind of puff piece and that some real difficult questions were going to be put to him. But it was astonishing how poorly it came off. And then in the aftermath, it came out that Andrew thought it had gone really well, which just, the whole impression of it was just a man who is so wildly out of touch with how any normal person would feel about the situation he finds himself in.
I was watching this interview this morning, just getting ready for our conversation. And it really is striking to go back and look at it, because the things he says are kind of nuts. He says, oh, I couldn't have been with Virginia Giuffre because I have these very clear memories of what I was doing at the time she accuses me of being with her. And weirdly specific, like I remember taking my daughter to a pizza party.
Yes, at Pizza Express in Woking. Which is, I don't know, like it's hard to convey to an American audience the particular flavor of that claim. Like, I can't compare it to anything in the US because I just don't know. It's like a very widely known, very standard pizza chain. I don't think Prince Andrew has ever been in a Pizza Express.
Yeah. And then the reporter is like, well, there's a picture of you with Virginia Giuffre. He's like, oh yeah, obviously it's me, but I don't remember that, which is weird. Mm-hmm. And then she talks about the fact that Virginia Giuffre has strong memories of Andrew. She talks about him sweating a lot, for instance.
She was very specific about that night. Mm-hmm. She described dancing with you and you profusely sweating, and that she went on to have bath, possibly.
There's a slight problem with the sweating because I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time, because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War when I was shot at, and I simply it was almost impossible for me to sweat. On that particular
crazy thing to claim.
Yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing was a car crash. I mean, it was amazing viewing, but for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Part of the reason for the Newsnight interview was that Jeffrey Epstein had just died in a jail cell in Manhattan. But of course, Virginia Giuffre, this woman who was accusing Prince Andrew of raping her, she was very much still alive. And in 2021, she sued Andrew in Manhattan. Do you remember what happened with that case?
Yeah, so she files that legal action and saying, that it's time at last for him to be held accountable, and accused him of basically having, using Epstein as a kind of pimp, basically, to get access to teenage girls, and Ghislaine Maxwell being involved in all of that as well. And that case is the reason that he got downgraded, really, from his royal status initially, because he settled that case with Giuffre, and he had to give up his Royal Highness sort of title thing. I mean, this is also murky because, not murky, complicated, because they've all got so many bloody titles. It's difficult to keep track of, okay, but is he a prince? Is he royal? Is he his Royal Highness? Is he Duke this? Is he Duke that? But this was the first of the kind of major strippings of his royal trappings.
That's so interesting. It's like they have titles to spare. They can just shave off a few, shed them as they go.
Yeah, well, kind of. And this was sort of the feeling at the time, is it's okay, well, so what? And he also stepped back from public duties at the time, which again, I kind of thought, so what? That means less work for him, That's the only thing they do is royal duties.
After the break, why Andrew's alleged crimes have come up again, 6 years later. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
This episode is brought to you by Planned Parenthood Federation of America. With everything going on in the world today, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and want to tune it all out. Don't. Planned Parenthood is counting on you. Planned Parenthood is on the front lines every day and defending our rights when healthcare is under attack. And right now, they need you. Here's why. The Trump administration and Congress passed a law to defund Planned Parenthood. It's a devastating blow to patients and America's already broken healthcare system. Planned Parenthood health centers are committed to providing care, no matter what, but they need your help to do it. Whether you give a little or a lot, your gift says something about who you are. Someone who shows up for what's right, who believes people who need care should be able to get it. Please don't wait. Go to PlannedParenthood.org/defend and give today. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
The main thing that seems to have changed in the last few days is that Virginia Giuffre's memoir, Nobody's Girl, was published.
Mm-hmm.
And it was published posthumously. Giuffre died in April at age 41. She died by suicide. And she had said before she died, if she dies, she wanted to make sure her memoir was published. So it was she wanted to make sure the story got out there again. Mm-hmm. What was it, other than just the publication, I think, that you think made it so urgent for the royal family to act now in this way where he is no longer a prince?
I do think it is in large part to do with the memoir and the fact that it just wasn't stopping. The press interest in Andrew's crimes wasn't abating. And you can look through the news and it was practically every day you could read something about Prince Andrew for a period.
I mean, The Guardian published an excerpt from the book with the headline, "Prince Andrew believed having sex with me was his birthright."
Like, that is so damning, you know? How are you supposed to defend someone? And also, because Giuffre is dead, she can't now be taken to task for it. Her word is more likely to be taken because, or what do I mean? I mean, the palace can't really hit back at a woman who's died, especially in the manner that she did. So it's just about as inarguable in a PR sense as it could possibly be. So then they take away his Duke title of York, Duke of York, and a couple of other sort of miscellaneous titles and honours.
Yeah, they convince him to give those up.
Yes, exactly. So the release is, he has decided that he will, which, is code for. They encouraged him quite strongly.
He decided maybe with like a gun to his head,
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
You've said this thing that I just want you to tease out more with me, which is that it's a big deal that taking away the title of prince seemed to be the result of public outrage exclusively. Why is that a big deal?
Well, it's a big deal because it sort of opens a door that is very dangerous, I guess, for the monarchy to have ajar, which is, the whole thing about the royals is that they exist by literally the divine right of kings. It is their divine purpose to rule over the country. It's enshrined in law and tradition and everything. And they're non-elected. It's not up to us. It's just whoever is born into that family is the monarch. But because this has now happened, there is a sense, there's a kind of little, rustling in the air of like, okay, so if they do something bad and we express enough distaste for it for long enough and they can't make it go away, which it's much more difficult to control the royal press machine these days with social media, and everyone's so much more connected and has a voice if they want one to dissent with, that if we can get someone stripped of their title of prince this time, it says that it's possible. It says that it's possible to remove a royal.
Yeah, like why are any of these people prince?
Well, exactly. Like there have been, I've sort of seen various newsletters and op-eds and stuff circling in the British press in the last week or so, just sort of, innocently asking like, do you guys think we should have a monarchy? Which is interesting because it's not like we actually have a say in that without some like quite serious, revolutionary violence in all likelihood. But it's interesting that people are asking the question now.
It's interesting to me to look at the coverage stateside versus the UK, because I was reading a New York Times article that was basically saying, well, the king deciding to take the title of prince away from Andrew, it sets him up as a cautious reformer. I was like, okay. And then I read an op-ed at The Guardian that was like, yeah, this is the end of the monarchy.
I think it's one of those things that like you can kind of read what you want into it. Like if you're a monarchist, this is a great moment for the monarchy because good old King Charles has got rid of the bad guy. If you're an anti-monarchist, this is a good moment because it sort of weakens the institution of the monarchy. The truth is like, we're not going to get rid of the monarchy. It's just not going to happen as much as I would be in favour of it.
Well, not today.
Not today. But it feels slightly more possible, by which I mean 5% possible rather than 0% possible, because after the Queen died, people like King Charles, okay, but they're not, attached to him. They don't view him as almost a kind of like grandmotherly figure as his mother was. And he won't be around very long, just by virtue of having a natural human lifespan. He will have to pass the title on to his son pretty soon. And so there's sort of change in the air, I guess. It's like things feel more fragile.
Where do you think Prince Andrew is going to wind up in all this? Like, obviously for now, he's not going to be on the streets or anything. But he has been shamed. He has been cast out.
Yeah, I mean, he'll just sort of have to fade away into the background as much as possible. He is pretty much persona non grata, not only in his own family, but, there's no question of him doing any kind of public appearance, and you can't just, like, go out for a coffee because he's a member of the royal family. So I guess he will just, I don't know. kick about in Sandringham. There's this famous story about when Sarah Ferguson, met him. He was 26, and she described in an interview going into his bedroom and finding a teddy bear on the bed wearing a little vest that said, "It's tough being a prince." Which actually, that sort of like really grinds my... Something about that, the kind of cutesy woe is me-ism of having that little bear when you live the most rarefied existence on earth. But he obviously felt, at least on some level, that his life was kind of tough by virtue of being prince. So fine, have a go at not being one. Suits us.
Imogen, I'm so grateful for you coming on the show. Thanks for doing it.
Thanks for having me.
Imogen West Knights is a Slate contributing writer. She is based in London. And that is our show. What Next is produced by Elena Schwartz, Rob Gunther, Anna Phillips, and Madeline Ducharme. Paige Osburn is the senior supervising producer of What Next and What Next TBD. Mia Lobel is the head of audio here at Slate. Ben Richmond is the senior director of podcast operations. And I'm Mary Harris. You can track me down on Blue Sky. Say hello. I'm at Mary Harris. Thanks for listening. Catch you back here next time.